striving for success is fueled by fear. So the motivation is this sort of, I'm scared that I'm going to be a failure. I'm scared that other people are going to judge me. I'm scared of not being enough. I'm scared of not being lovable.
Do you need to experience some sort of pain and misery and burnout to turn to spiritual means and methods?
Faith is not built all in one go. It's like small steps, proving it to yourself time and time again in little bits, and it enables us to make bigger and bigger leaps.
When you go above and beyond for a higher purpose, for Guru's pleasure, for Krishna's pleasure, for something greater than just material gain alone, then it's almost like Krishna fully pushes you from behind.
Don't be attached to what you're doing, and don't be attached to the results of what you're doing, because they were never caused by you anyway. And that's such a difficult thing for the modern ego to deal with.
Before we jump into this episode, I'd love to invite you to join this candid spiritual community to hear more conversations that will help you become happier, healthier, and more healed. All I want you to do is click on that subscribe button because I love your support. I love seeing all the comments pouring through, all the love pouring through, and we're just getting started. I can't wait to go on this journey with you, whether you're a spiritual seeker or you're just curious about the topic. And we really hope that our conversations will provide you food for thought and inspiration for your own spiritual journey. So join us for honest, candid discussions about spirituality for soul's sake.
For soul's sake, for soul's sake.
Hello and welcome to another special roundtable episode of For Soul's Sake. This time, introducing you to, drumroll please, our dear friend Stine.
Yeah, Stine.
Thank you very much.
Stine is an incredible person, someone who recently qualified as a yoga teacher, who serves on retreats that I'm hosting. She is an incredible businesswoman. She is a wealth of stories from the Vedic East, and we're really excited to have some feminine touch on the podcast finally.
It's about time.
It's about time. Welcome, Stine.
Thank you so much for having me.
Grateful. Well, we're going to resume business as usual. We usually pick something from the Bhagavad Gita or one of our Vedic texts. This is going to be about, what's our topic today now? Give us a little insight.
I was thinking of the title From Burnout to Bhakti. I think the world at the moment is moving at a ridiculous pace. Everyone wants to be a hustler. Everyone's hustling for this, for that. But I think what's really interesting is where our energies going. What's the true purpose and motive behind our energies? All that busyness that ultimately leads to a lot of burnout. And I've been through burnout, and I'm sure both of you have as well. And it's not a nice place, and it really makes you question what was all of that work, effort, and hustle for. And I think it'd be good to dive into
I don't know if I've ever actually had burnout. I've been emotionally fatigued when I'm like, I've given too much of myself. But I don't know. I mean, maybe you can describe. Have you been through burnout?
No, I actually don't think I have either. I think
This
I
is a great
managed
topic,
to
isn't
get. I managed. Yeah. None of us have actually experienced
I don't know what
this.
we're talking about.
No, I think I was close, but I think I managed to get out just before. Yeah, but definitely. But it's like, what is burnout? Because I also think we have normalized this sort of overworking in society, so that actually maybe all of us are a little bit burned out by the pace of life these days.
It's really funny, actually. I was scrolling for Instagram as you do the other day, and the post came up, and it was like 5 symptoms, 5 early symptoms of burnout. And I read through them. I go, tick, 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 tick. Yeah, and I was like, what? And it's things like just slowly you start to feel disinterest or some slight demotivation. And that's like the early bits to actual catastrophe later on.
Yeah, I think that detachment is really important in this, because I also think that for me, that period where I was in a corporate job and I was feeling so detached from everything. And then, of course, that became eventually the beginning of my spiritual journey, to start reconnecting and to start operating more from the heart and less from the brain and less from this sort of place of I must achieve, I must be the best, I must do, and instead of just being. And
do you need to experience some sort of pain and misery and burnout to turn to spiritual means and methods?
It's a good question.
Is it a necessity? I know Bhagavad Gita talks about like how there's different types of people that come to spirituality. And how someone who's materially frustrated is only one of them. But it seems like the majority of people that come to spirituality have had some material frustration of some level and some sort.
That or a heartbreak of some sort, I would say.
Yeah.
And
it's funny, right? It's like some people come not because they went through something difficult, but perhaps out of curiosity.
Yeah.
But what I found in my life is that as you progress on the spiritual path, you're met with those other three. You're met with some heartache, or you're met with some real physical challenge or mental challenge. And that's kind of spurred you on.
Yeah.
Because things can get complacent. But when you get into the dynamics of bhakti, there's a whole other energy playing with you. And I think if you're not feeling some difficulty now, you probably will.
It's coming, guys.
It's coming, yeah.
It's just the nature of the material world, isn't it? Right, Bhagavad Gita. We're reading from chapter 2, verse number 47. Here's the translation for you guys. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you're not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. I remember working my first job. It was in a retail store. I won't name names. Next. And I went through hell, basically, stocking rooms and putting clothes out and serving customers because I was really attached to the end result, which was the financial gain.
Yeah.
And our culture so much dictates that is normal and healthy, that you need to really get stuck in to the point of exhaustion and failure because that means you're doing something, and it means that you're then valuable, and it means that you're building your worth almost. And so now that we talk about burnout, I'm starting to really think personally what that means for me, and how society at large values the fruits of results. Like, you got to have some good stuff either under your bed, outside in the driveway, in your bank accounts. Otherwise, what is your worth?
Yeah.
So everyone's striving for this fruit of results.
And the badge to wear is the burnout badge.
Oh, my.
Yeah. Amen.
I'm going to say something. I'm pretty sure, Stine, you've experienced this as well, but the amount of times I've gone into work and someone's come in and be like, oh yeah, just, I was working till like 2 a.m. last night. Yeah. But I'm in the office at 7 a.m. And saying it with such pride.
Right.
No, yeah.
And I look at people and I think, sometimes, I'll be honest, I've questioned myself. Like, am I not meeting the criteria here? Right. Am I taking care of my health a bit too much? And they wear it with the badge and I'm like,
yeah.
Why?
Why? I look back at all the nights that I sat drafting legal documents till 3 a.m. or later. And I just think, for what? It's all in a basement in a box right now, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But then when you come to that realization that the fruits of the results are not the value of your life, that can be catastrophic to your mental health. Like, I got kind of these lessons early on in my life. So then it's always been a balance of, okay, yeah, work hard, but don't get attached to the result. And it's always kind of ticking on in there. But I can imagine that if your whole life has been constructed around this, then it feels like quite depressing, no? Like, what are you working for? Who are you working for?
But I also think it's not just your life that is constructed around that. It is society that is constructed around that. Right. Because the whole capitalist system actually only works if we all constantly feel like we need end results. We need the next best thing. We need the new iPhone. And if we all just sat back and were like, actually, I'm quite happy with how things are and who I am and how my face looks, nothing would sell, right? So the whole capitalist system would then collapse. So it's sort of almost like it is so in the fabric of society that, of course, you then, and that happened to me when I quit my lawyer job. It's like I felt like I'd gone crazy. And I was waking up in the middle of the night going, what have I done? And because you go against everything you've always been told that success looks like and what you should strive for. Yeah. And then suddenly when you step out of that, you're on really unsteady ground.
Yeah. And I bet though that when you did leave your job, you might have felt a bit like, what am I doing? But you probably sent ripples into people that were doing the job that you had as well.
Well, interestingly, there was a rumor that I had a breakdown. And I think that looking back, I think that probably started because so many people of my colleagues weren't ready to look at their own life or whether they were happy in the job. So they had to find some sort of reason why I could possibly have left that prestigious job and so
to justify to themselves.
Right,
that
exactly. So
this
they didn't have to look inward and go, actually, maybe I should do a bit of soul searching here.
Yeah.
I can imagine it can also be quite a lonely quest in one sense, that when you reject the modern way of affirming, which is materialism and owning loads of things and, you know, showing that you've worked hard, when you reject that and try and live a life of simplicity and spirituality and valuing something greater than material assets, then you're kind of boxing yourself at, that's the fear, right? Like, I mean, put it in the comments below if you feel like this, that this might be one of the reasons why some of your family members may not feel so inclined to being part of the same spiritual communities that you are, because they're scared of losing friendship circles and scared of losing the validation that society offers them. And that's valid. I get it. How do people cope with that? Like the fact that the chances are you might consider yourselves to be a little bit lonelier when you don't have the material.
I had something really interesting happen to me when I was just graduating, and I'd kind of come into contact with Bhakti and was going through that period. I kind of got to let a few things go, and you know, all my friends were getting jobs at, you know, this company, you know, McLaren and BMW, and I was like, oh, like that's kind of what I wanted to do. But my heart was saying to me, you want to go to India and train with some monks because that's where your heart is. What's your heart telling you to do? One day, I was in the city and I went to see a tarot reader out of the blue. Okay,
Come on.
I went to see a tarot reader. He took me down his basement. I don't know where it was, near Tottenham Court Road somewhere.
I'm not
This
sure
sounds
where this
dodgy,
is
mate.
going.
Took me down his basement and he sat me down and he was kind of like, you know, the classic long hair, like, and looking really mystical. And then he did some tarot with me. Then he put one card down and he said, you're going to have to let go of a lot of friends. And I was like, oh, damn, like I'm feeling that way. But he said, but it's only to make space for a whole lot more.
Oh,
Wow.
That's beautiful.
Only to make space for a whole lot more to align to you. And that was so true. At the moment, I was like, what?
Yeah.
But I look back and I think, wow. And so just on what you said, Radhika, there is a fear, right? But fear never led to opportunity.
Yeah. I feel like I've got way more friends now than I did before.
Yeah, same.
And people that I can have honest, vulnerable conversations with. That I don't have to hide behind a fake masculinity with, and I don't have to pretend to be enjoying the material world with, but people that I actually genuinely love serving with, and I feel like I have purpose with, and I feel that I have a God connection with. And so that's really beautiful. So do not fear. I was playing devil's advocate. Don't fear. Don't worry. There's plenty of spiritualist friends.
But I think fear is probably so key to all of this as well, because I think a lot of striving for success is fueled by fear. So the motivation is this sort of, I'm scared that I'm going to be a failure. I'm scared that other people are going to judge me. I'm scared of not being enough. I'm scared of not being lovable. And I think for me, that was such a big step as well, to really start just going, I think I'm enough as I am. And I think I'm done achieving and striving and sort of. And I think also when you start trusting more on a spiritual path, you realize that love is not something that is earned. It is just always there within you. And when you pause, like you were saying, and you take that step back and you create the space, it's there.
Yeah.
And then you can hear it because it was always there talking to you in the background.
Yeah, totally.
But we're just too busy with our lives to actually hear that.
Krishna says something really powerful in the Gita. He says, Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. It's a verse on surrender. And in that verse right at the end, he says, Ma sucha, do not fear. And what we've created through this material construct is kind of like a pseudo-religion in one sense. Like the banks are the churches and the government are the leaders and, you know, etc. We can deduce an analogy from that. But the incredible thing is that giving up that pseudo-religion, Krishna says, just surrender all varieties of religion. Surrender, like don't worry, don't fear. And I think that that's a big step in bhakti and devotion, is surrendering our constructed ideas of what will make us happy and surrendering unto a supreme way of living, unto a divine path where everything that we do is given onwards and upwards towards God. And genuinely, I mean, I can only speak for myself, and I'm sure you both will attest to this, that you feel that you're held by something greater. So when you give up these fruits of your results, when you give up the hustle culture, when you give up the fear of all the things that come with not being on the path towards burnout, then don't worry, God's got your back. Krishna's got your back.
Yeah,
I mean, I felt that in my life. I don't know about you. I mean, maybe you have some stories about how Krishna's had your back by you surrendering, you know, this material path, so to say.
You know, it's so funny. Like, when I was a monk, a lot of people said to me, well, you know, if you do this, it's basically going to be career suicide for you.
Right.
You're going to come out. Who's going to employ a monk? And I was like, all right, but I was like, whatever. Like, I really want to do this, you know? And I think this can be for any, it doesn't have to be for monastic life. It can be for any sort of immersion in spiritual life. Because when you exit, you're just not the same person. You have different desires. However, I left, and initially I was really excited because I was like kind of getting to know the world again, learning about different things. I was just speaking to people. I was like, wow, that's what you do. But then no job. 50 applications, 100 applications, 150, 200 applications, nothing.
Jeez, bro.
Then I'm feeling really scared. And I'm questioning, am I going to make anything of myself? Am I actually going to be able to afford anything? Can I afford to like support a family? What's going to happen? But there was some sort of faith, like, look, I've sacrificed this time and investment into a spiritual path. Yeah. I've really tried to understand it. I have a lot of faith that this is real and it will come back to me somehow. Next thing you know, I'm doing a leadership program on the life of Ram at a corporate company, right? Leadership lessons from the life of Ram. Just because they asked me to do it and they knew my background. So they said, can you come? No problem. Then and there, who became my boss had an interview with me across the road in a bar.
He was in the room?
She was in the room, yeah.
She was in the room.
And she said, I'm looking to hire. And I said, well, I'm looking for a job.
Wow.
She took me for an interview across the road in a bar. First time I stepped into a bar in 6 years. I was like, whoa. And like a couple of weeks later, got into the job.
That's mad.
That's amazing.
And
I love that. The monk got a job in a bar.
Exactly right. How funny. It was so funny. And, you know, big gratitude to her if she's listening. But, you know, she gave me a chance. She gave the monk a chance. And I just feel like faith is not built all in one go. I don't know if you guys felt it's like small steps. Yeah. Like, proving it to yourself time and time again in little bits, and it enables us to make bigger and bigger leaps.
For sure.
Right?
I also feel that those times in my life where I've had the most doubt, sort of gone, oh my God, have I really made the right decision? Then these small things have happened to just reassure me. It's like, it's okay, you're on the right path. And I have like one memory so I'd quit the corporate job and I'd started working in a pottery studio on this exchange. And basically, part of my role was to close down the pottery studio at night. And so I had to mop the floors before leaving at 10 o'clock at night. Anyway, so I'm there mopping floors. And you can imagine, I had only been out of my corporate lawyer job for 2 months at this point. And I'm there mopping floors in a pottery studio. And I had this moment where I just went, what have I done? Like 2 months ago, I had my own secretary. And now I'm like here. And then in from the other arch of the studio came my now good friend, Ben. And he'd whacked on this like pop music. And then he came in with his mop head and he was like singing into it, dancing. And then we ended up dancing around together in the studio. And then my mind sort of went, oh yeah, this is why I'm doing this. And it was this sort of really joyful little moment of like, yeah, actually this is what life is about. This connection and the joy, and things don't have to be so serious all the time. And what we're striving for isn't necessarily that end product or the success or the...
And it's interesting that you meant that, what you just said there, that we're not striving for the end, but it's also that, see, a lot of spiritualists are kind of slagged off because, well, if you're not a materialist, then what are you doing? But what Bhakti teaches us is that it's not that you're doing nothing, but you're hustling for God. You're hustling for Krishna. You're hustling for higher purpose. And so, when we started this conversation, we're like, oh, have we experienced burnout? We're like, yeah, no, not really. I mean, I'm willing to go above and beyond in my life when I know that the purpose for which I'm serving is far greater than myself. It's serving others, and ultimately it's pleasing Krishna. Like when I feel like my God is pleased by what I've used my energy in my day with, mate, I can flip and go and go and go. Like people keep asking me, are you not tired? Like you just did this traveling here and then you had this event and that event. And I think the incredible thing that's been proved to me time and time again, and I could be wrong, young and foolish, granted. But what I'm getting proved time and time again is when you go above and beyond for a higher purpose, for Guru's pleasure, for Krishna's pleasure, for, something greater than just material gain alone, then it's almost like Krishna fully pushes you from behind.
Yeah.
You just feel this like, whoop, keep going, son, you got this.
Yeah.
We talk about that on retreats sometimes, don't we, when we are serving, and it's almost like you're fueled by this higher power that keeps you going, and your body might be a bit physically tired, but the mind is like, whoa, let's go.
And it's like that verse is like, it's an assault on the ego.
Yeah.
Because it's basically saying you're not entitled to the fruits of your action.
Yeah.
You're not even entitled to the action itself.
Yeah.
It's like a double whammy. It's a massive lesson in humility only to unlock freedom.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, don't be attached to what you're doing and don't be attached to the results of what you're doing, because they were never caused by you anyway. And that's such a difficult thing for the modern ego to deal with.
Yeah. But I also think, to add to that, don't be attached to the inaction either.
Yes.
It's like it comes from all sides, right?
Yes. And that's what people say, right? Yeah. And I think, Radhika, you were just mentioning is like, well, if you're not doing anything and you're not being attached to this, then does that mean you're doing inaction? That you're just like going to laze around and chill out?
Are you just floating on a pool?
Yeah. I found it so interesting. Prabhupada, who obviously really propagated the Bhakti movement in the West, he was approached by some reporters, and the reporters were saying, well, you're all renunciates. At that time, it was big. There was a lot of, volunteers and monks and nuns supporting Prabhupada in building his society. And they asked him, well, what are you guys doing then? You don't have jobs. Like, you don't seem to be working very hard. What are you guys doing? And he said, no, they're all working even harder than you. For the welfare of humanity, for the spiritual welfare of humanity. They're working even harder than you.
Yeah.
And I thought that was always so powerful because Bhakti is so action-oriented. It's so service-oriented. It's so real.
Look at the example like Mother
thing.
Vishaka, who's the temple president at the Bhaktivedanta Manor. She's like unreal. Like I don't know how old she is. She must be late 60s, early 70s. No? I mean, just to see the level of energy she's got to serve, it gives me so much hope that this process is not just a sprint, but it's a full life race almost. There's legs on this. I wanted to take a different turn on this though. We've spoken about burnout when it comes to material endeavors. Is it possible to be burnt out in spirituality also? Is it possible? Because I've seen it. I mean, people, it's not like, everyone sticks around forever. There are people that kind of drop away, fall away, or even just take a break from, bhakti and spirituality. And that is often caused by some level of burnout as well.
Yeah, spiritual burnout. Yeah. I've seen it multiple times. And where I've seen it multiple times is when individuals are not being real with where they're at and the amount of capacity they actually have. Like just because someone practices spiritual, has a spiritual practice, it doesn't mean that they're instantaneously superhuman. Like we all still have physical limitations.
Yeah.
And
physical needs.
And so I think when we start to become immature about our practice and what we truly need, it can very easily, in the excitement of spiritual life, which is super vibrant and dynamic, you can end up feeling burnt out and exhausted.
Yeah.
I also think personally for me, as somebody who's a little bit newer on the path than the two of you, I've had to, in the last couple of years in particular, I've had to sort of have these check-ins to go, why am I doing this? And then just sit with that. It's like, what is my motivation for coming to Om Nom on a Friday night? Or what's my motivation for hosting a japa group? Or and to sort of also check in is like, is this my ego wanting to be the leader and being in control? Or am I fueled by fear and I really need approval from Radhika? Or it's like, where's this coming from? Because I think unless we continue to do that, we can very easily fall into this place where actually then we are just applying the material sort of energy to our spiritual practice, where suddenly we're focused on being the best and being the greatest at savor, and then actually we are just slipping back into these almost addictive patterns where it becomes about achievement and end results as opposed to surrender.
What's been really incredible for me to see from like watching you and observing you is that I feel like Krishna's got a really good version of you. Like, I was talking to, what's his name? I was in the US and I was speaking to Bali, who was playing the drum. Bali, shout out if you're listening. And we were talking about having kids. And I was advocating, have kids early, start young and whatnot. And he said, yeah, that's all cool. But also for him, he feels like his kids got a better version of him because he was slightly more experienced in life. And I think that when I've always observed like how you serve and how you like taken approaches to certain like activities and services, I've always been so impressed by how consciously you've done things. And I feel like Krishna's got a really good version of like Stine as you are now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you got the Locks older version.
No, but it's like, I feel like that's happening for me as well. Like me 5 years ago serving and me serving now, me 10 years ago serving, me serving now, they're totally two different animals.
100%, yeah. Yeah. But I also think because I was already on a spiritual path for many years,
right?
Just not the Bhakti path, I think it probably also helped me being able, for example, to sit with my feelings and to sit still in meditation. And there are certain actually skills that are helpful, I think. But
I love what you were just saying before about you constantly checked in with yourself to say, what are my intentions?
Yeah, right.
That's such a powerful practice.
For sure.
How much sincerity of purpose do I actually have? Actually, I was reading the Bhagavatam, the sort of master's level of Bhakti book the other day. And in there, Prabhupada was mentioning about the whole concept around sincerity of purpose. Sincerity of purpose. Ultimately, how sincere is your motivation behind a particular activity? And when we actually allow ourselves to go down to that level, whoa, you reveal a lot. Yeah. You really reveal a lot about yourself. And it might seem like an arduous task, like you have to keep doing it. But when you do, like, damn, I'm not as sincere as I thought.
It's purifying.
It's really purifying.
It is, and it's ugly sometimes what you find. Like I had it with Food for Life. The first time I went to serve at Food for Life, it's a charity that, as you know, that serves food for the homeless. And I went along, and I think inside of me, my ego was like, oh, we're going to go and serve the homeless. And I'm like such a good human being. And anyway, and I went along, and there was a fight that was so bad that somebody got smacked right in front of me, and I got blood splattered on my top. And somebody shouted at me for not serving the rice in the right way on his plate. And I went home, and I was almost in tears on the tube home. But it was such, and then I went home and meditated. I sat doing my japa, and I was like, wow, what was that? And then I had the realization, I was like, wow, I was so attached to the outcome of what this was going to feel like. And my service was not selfless. It was there because I was going to make myself feel better by being a savior. And anyway, so then the next time I went, I was like, okay, I'm really going to try just approach this from a place of I'm just here to serve. And however my rice is perceived or received is not really for me to judge. And then, of course, that evening was so beautiful and lots of people said thank you. And, but I think for me that was such an eye-opener that even when we think, oh, yeah, I'm so like on the path and stuff. And then you have these like little moments where you're like, oh, ouch, my ego is still quite big.
You can become covered by the path itself.
Exactly.
That's so fascinating,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
My spiritual teacher, he once told me, when you wake up in the morning, just repeat to yourself, I'm just here to serve Krishna. And that sentence alone has given me so many moments of like, oh, come on, like, it's not about the result. Serve Krishna, serve God. And when you're serving means like that you want to please that person.
Yeah.
And being the ultimate supreme person, there's never going to be any lack in that reciprocation. So this has been a really good episode.
Wow, there's a lot there. I feel nourished after that conversation.
Yeah, me too.
Dude, Stine, you're awesome. Can you come back on the next one?
Yes, please. I'll see you then.
Thank you all so much for watching this episode of For Soul's Sake. If there was anything that struck you, drop it down in the comments. If you felt like this was impactful for you, share it with a friend. If this is something that you look forward to on a weekly basis, then we are here to serve you. Thank you so much for watching. So grateful for you. See you on the next episode of For Soul's Sake. Namaste.
If you love this episode, you'll love my interview with Mimi Icon on mindfulness to manifestation. Check it out.
So I had this panic attack and I thought I was dying. So I go to my teacher and I'm like, I think I'm having a heart attack. Like, I'm so scared. And he's like, well, if you do, we'll call 911. This is back in Toronto. I was living in Toronto at the time. He's like, Mimi, you cannot run away from yourself. It's a panic attack, most likely. Like, now go back into meditation and sit through it and watch it. Any emotional reaction is like a storm. Like, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end.